episode 207, A View from 202. Technically after 3 games, but really I guess ostensibly 2. We did a Twitch stream of the Open Cup last week in lieu of our episode before, so if we wanted to, I think we've given enough coverage to just, say we talked about Dallas back then, but we'll probably touch on all of the Dallas, Hartford, and Orlando games this week realistically.
I think themes from that game will be emerging.
There's a pattern from the Dallas game that'll probably
I think so, yeah. And then
is it the big talking point?
I don't know.
Just our away versus home form.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And I think it works out too, because the Dallas game, I mean, it was different. There's different stuff to talk about than the Montreal game before, but I wasn't feeling overly inspired to do a whole separate episode about it. So I think this works out. And I did have some sort of one-liner that came to mind last week when we were doing this about that might explain why Sam wasn't there. But I don't know what it could have been. So Sam's not here tonight. He's died or something. I don't know. He was...
Haven't read the papes.
Traded. Yeah. He was released. I don't know.
We are more of an anthology kind of continuity than an episodic one. So.
He was loaned to a Faroese podcast.
If he comes back in the future episode, that we've gone back in time.
He's out for 6 to 8 weeks with plantar fasciitis. Plantar fascistus. Plant fascism is what Sam has.
Eco-fascism.
Yeah, there we go. Typical, fucking solar ray man.
Fucking fanatic.
He just wants to cover all of our parking lots with, terrible. Anyway, so it's just 3 of us here. Brit, Cork, and Peaches. And where do we want to start? This is a week where I guess we only got 4 points because one of the games is a cup game, but we get 2 wins. 2 wins in a row.
2 wins in a week. Is that allowed?
Yeah. And I have to say, weirdly enough, like not even really doing a bit, it felt like both of them were expected. I mean, obviously expected to beat Hartford, but this game yesterday on Sunday against Orlando, I really did at this point just wake up and was like, yeah, it's an away game. Like, we're probably going to play really well and have a decent chance to win. And lo and behold, we did.
The tactical matchup very much was it's Tottenham lads.
Yeah. It was the most it's Tottenham lads game of the season so far, which on paper I wouldn't have expected in some ways. I mean, I think maybe being midday in Florida helped that.
I was actually worried about that, honestly.
Yeah?
I just looked up the forecast and everything and was just like, because I had been watching the Miami game before that in the afternoon. And I was just like, damn, it looks hot. And then when I saw Orlando, I was like, damn, this might be a tough game. Might be an early appearance of our kind of summer swoon kind of thing.
It was like 85 or 84.
Yeah, it was up there, and
85 is the threshold.
Definitely not what they've been conditioned to in East Hanover for the last few months. So
they looked more comfortable in it than when it was sort of cold for a couple weeks, though.
Yeah, true.
Said. Is it because you haven't been doing your due diligence and observing the private in-sauna trainings that Struber's been holding?
Is that true? Is that so? I mean, obviously, if I'm not even
word on the streets, yeah, obviously.
How big are these saunas where we're training in them?
You know how they have the indoor pitches and
it's like the airplanes where the zero gravity airplanes that Hollywood uses to recreate space, except they just have giant saunas. There's no reason for it to be on a plane, but they just figure.
It's for the extra G's forces.
Yeah.
No, we practice our set pieces in the 0G planes because our new Danish consultant said that the best way to head a ball is in 0G because then when it's going at 1G, presumably, you hit it better or something. But yeah,
it's science.
Yeah, we've mastered the humidity, I guess. Because I think compared to let's see, running back. What were our other away wins at this point that we were pretty good? I mean, San
All of
Jose
them?
and but just like and
New
Toronto, I guess,
England.
and New England. Yeah, I mean, even though the San Jose game was the biggest blowout, and then what did we beat Toronto by?
Toronto
2?
was the bigger blowout.
3?
Toronto was 4-1. San Jose
4-1?
was 3-1.
Okay. Yeah, even though that was a bigger blowout, I would say those games are sweatier than this one.
Yeah,
in a
this one's
hustle
arguably
sense, you
the
know?
biggest blowout because it was a shutout.
That's true. I don't really know what was up with Orlando there. I don't know why they had such little fight. I mean, we were good on the day, not to take it away from the Red Bulls, but it was also unusual that I think is the team that was complaining and yelling the least at final whistle. You know, they just kind of seemed like they wanted to go home. It was like it was a home game for us in that sort of way. Like the mentality, Orlando was like, all right, fine. Yeah, this is over.
There were weirdly a lot on the TV broadcast, at least a lot of just like stray, very conspicuous visual Red Bulls fans in the crowd. Not even just like that supporters section that they focused on sometimes, but you just see random like throw in close-ups, and there was a guy like, you know, rainbow head man in a Red Bulls gear or
It's,
Red Bulls kit.
It's just general part of the New York Florida exchange program.
That's
I
true.
assumed, yeah. I mean, if there's any place where I imagine like there's a weird colony of
RB and Y expats.
people who have followed RB&Y since like the 2000s or whatever, who have like moved past it a little bit but still get up for it. It's Orlando
and retired to Central Florida.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Those type of people are all over Central Florida.
They gave up their Wawas for Publix.
right.
I can also see Orlando being the kind of place that would just have people who randomly decided to get into MLS and are like, yeah, the Red Bulls seem cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, oh, yeah, Orlando is a team. They're like, yeah, I know.
Are you just saying
But-
that Orlando is a spiritual place that you find yourself?
Me, no. Personally, no. I mean, I think this is just a type of I don't even know if it's a universal type of or a uniform type of person.
I mean,
who does
I know
this.
that there's more of a physical reason for you to have liked the Red Bulls, but I was just saying that you were kind of like an MLS fan who was just like, oh, the Red Bulls are kind of cool, but that was because of Thierry Henry too.
Oh, myself way
Yes.
back when.
Mhm.
I was also.
Like in Houston.
I mean,
I already had ties to New York a little bit too.
I mean,
but yeah.
when I was growing up in South Carolina, I mean, obviously I have my New York ties, but also it was sort of like, I mean, it was Red Bulls or DC basically for like the whole Eastern Seaboard in the 2000s. So
In like 2010, we were back up to what
12 teams.
12 teams, you know. So it's like if you followed the league, you really kind of like. It was very easy to have one East and one West team and develop a bit of affinity for them. Whereas now it feels overwhelming almost to just follow one team consistently and keep track of everyone. But anyway, it scans to me that I think Orlando just has a bunch of weird people there, I think, who would be like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'll spend $1,000 once a year to go to RBA because I just decided I liked it.
Yeah.
That's just a very Orlando behavior,
Yeah.
you know?
those type of people are in Orlando in high numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
They like, you know, they're
not only in Orlando, but just
Right.
the highest rate of
it's like they
them
move
is
there because the cost of living is low. They work some sort of computer email job that pays them high, and they spend it all at Disney World, all at Epcot, you know, or Red Bull Arena if you're a little bit eccentric. So anyway,
I mean, that's the story.
I do that
I
here
think,
in New York.
well, I
yeah.
think that's the story of Orlando City, the club in general.
yeah.
I mean, just a sink for the weird amount of disposable income
I
that
think
ended up
it's-
in a certain generation
It's
in Florida.
really when they failed to capture the Brazilian tourists to Disney World audience.
They kind of gave that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Brazilians sold, I guess. So,
Right, exactly.
yeah.
Well, I think they were just like, oh, this package isn't working. People aren't coming here for the games.
Who is it? It's that Vikings guy who owns them now, right? Wilf? Is he the only owner?
really? I
Oh
don't know.
yeah, I forgot they sold.
Yeah, the Brazilians sold. But I think it's that Ziggy Wilf guy, but whatever.
What's their state? Is it still Camping World or
No, it's Exploria.
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 What is
Stadium.
Exploria?
Yeah, probably some like hedge fund or something. But I like the stadium, as I was
That's
kind of commenting in our chat yesterday.
That's like a cool stadium.
It's a pretty nice, like kind of
Honestly,
big,
like
British
Orlando's
style.
vibes of like the newer teams is not the worst.
Oh, not
We've
at
talked
all.
about this before.
No,
but yeah.
they've had a huge like comeback as far as rep. Like, They're way more legit than some of the other.
Which is funny because they're like the
SEC
least Mickey
clubs.
Mouse club, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Their stadium is kind of a nice hybrid of like a traditional British stand look, but also a bit of the, I forget the name of the stadium in Portugal. It's basically the same thing as the Emirates, like the Emirates
yeah, I know
Portugal
what you
thing. It's like a
mean.
little bit
Yeah.
of those styles put together. Also, just like, I don't know. I wish we could have just a very simple like word mark in our seats, you know?
Yeah, like the Orlando. in
Right.
there, yeah.
Like I know that changing all the streets to red is going to be a thing, but maybe we could start by just putting a word in white or something in the upper deck just to start. Because I think that's just plain blue right now. But that seems like something very obvious that Red Bull missed when they built RBA. But I guess they do in their
I'm
other
surprised there
stadiums
aren't
too.
more like Adidas logos in the seats of stadiums around
That's true.
MLS. But
That's true, yeah.
They had like that Nike one in Stamford Bridge. But
well, yeah, I mean they've got all over
Right,
England. Like
the
if,
England
if you
ones,
got
yeah.
Nike or Adidas, they set up in your seats.
But like to be fair, I feel like when they build the stadium, they're like, "Oh, it's cool. We can make the Red Bull logo in the seats."
Right.
It's become pretty much like part of the
The whole like
fabric.
Knowing us, they would have like all right, we're gonna finally commit some money to like adding a little bit of taste and personal touch to the stadium. We're gonna put like defend our fortress in it right before 2019, where we lose like 10 home games. We're
Right.
like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
So maybe it's for the best that they didn't pull the trigger on that.
that would have been a really awful slogan if that was our going into this season.
Yeah, I mean, we really flew too close to the sun with that. I mean, that's kind of, we weren't flying anywhere that season, to be honest. But hey, we at least seem to be flying again a little bit with scoring goals. I mean, we scored, the other thing about these last two games, so we scored 5 goals in them. Not bad. You know, and it was pretty easy to score goals against Hartford, as you might expect. They looked like a lower division side. And
Yeah, they were bad.
we really, I think we conceded on a set piece, which was dumb and annoying, but literally nothing else going from the whole time. And then they just kind of seemed to have gotten a halftime talk from their Chav manager.
They're Naglesford.
Yeah.
I don't know what the English analogy of Nagelsmann is, but yeah, that kind of vibe.
Yeah, and everything made more sense when I saw him post whistle. But then they kind of just decided to be a little bit of bastards after the half, and were very proud of themselves for that. So I feel like that kind of just froze the game up. But you know, never in doubt there. And I was really on board with the color commentator on ESPN Plus who was talking about it, and I don't know if she's consistently the Hartford person. I mean,
she's a Miami color person.
Oh, like the first team.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did she cover Hartford at all?
No, it's Kaylin Kyle. She was on the Canadian national team and is married to Adrian Heath's son.
Well, she seemed very personally offended by the way that Hartford were playing.
Yeah.
she seemed to have some familiarity because I guess she was like referencing previous results and stuff. But yeah, she was like more and more vocally annoyed that they're still trying to play out the back and stuff in the first half. And she was right. It was like what is the thought process here? Like why did you try that in the first place? But I can understand it's not unique that you would think this would work for some reason.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like a type A thing where you know, of course you can take the tactical approach against the Red Bull style if you're afraid of it and just, you know, hit long balls and play for the counter and stuff like that. But then there's another side of it where you think like, okay, let's just go ahead and beat them at our game. And like, I guess there's kind of a sense that if you play possession the right way, that's the right way to get around a press. That like, if you're sharp on your possession, you make one pass, break one line.
Yeah.
You've broken the whole team. But if that doesn't happen, you end up looking like clowns, which they did.
Yeah, I guess I can respect that aspect of it for a little bit, but as a lower division side going against the first division side, you should at least have a backup plan, and you know, like you should be prepared to sort of switch before half, I think.
You could see it as we were commenting on the live stream, how especially on like aerial balls where their forwards were getting dominated by our center backs, was where you could see the gap be most apparent as far as athleticism and just, you know, jumping to balls ahead
Just
of
like physical
guys.
quality differences.
Like,
I mean, I think, you know, I wonder if it was just like I was wondering when I was watching, it's like, oh, you know, did they accept the loss and they're just like, let's treat this as an exercise against like a really good team to like try our like little drills or whatever. But then like in the second half, like you were saying, like
started hacking.
they started getting like a little dirty. And like, what do you guys want to win? I'm not really sure what's going on here. Like, yeah, if you wanted to win, you should have given up on like passing out of the back until you got intercepted 4 times by our midfielders.
Or I think he was just maybe even getting a little rah because like it didn't even really work that well to like the way that they played did not really have any impact on them scoring. It just kind of made it so we were like, all right, fine, you know, maybe we're not gonna like bust our asses to score another one on you guys if you're gonna be a pain in the ass. But I mean, it culminates as well in that guy sliding into CCJ and then, you know, being very proud of himself for baiting a very soft red card, which, you know.
And then they were like waving goodbye. It's like, y'all
like,
are the ones who are
when
literally
he was like waving,
literally going out of the cup and are last place in your fucking little Mickey Mouse league.
Right. Also, it's like even within the universe or the context of that game, it was like the 94th minute where he was like, oh, bye from the game. Okay, the game's like over right now. Like, sure. Good for you.
Have fun working at fucking Costco next year. Like,
Jesus. Yeah. The
you kind of called the shot there on the CCG getting a red card though.
Yeah, I've been feeling that for a while, but then it's a bit of a monkey's paw thing there, because for all things to get a red card for, that was so soft. That was like I don't even
hands
think
to face.
I don't even
violent
think
conduct.
I don't think he even
hit him
on the face. Like, well, you know,
he
barely,
like kind of like throttled his collarbone / neck a little
Yeah,
bit.
It was like his face went to his hand level. More,
it was like very clearly a shove intended to shove him down on the chest, where, you know, that happens in like 90% of soccer games. Like, you know, when people jaw at each other. It was very weird for it to be immediate one-time thing, but, you know, I guess is that going to be a one-game suspension, or is it?
Yeah, he'll dismiss the next round.
Okay, so it's not. It's almost Omer Damari-esque in terms of not really mattering. But yeah, Hartford. I mean, I guess to what you're saying, Peaches, like maybe they just sort of needed this result to be like a morale boost for them, and maybe, I don't know, maybe they got that out of this perversely somehow. But it also, I think, it is maybe not very good research or homework on Hartford managers' end as well, because I think if you're a lower division side that is looking at the Red Bulls coming into town that week, you would see a team that is solid but can struggle to score, is struggling at home to beat teams that they should, and seems to have like the yips a bit in like playing down, I guess, to opponents or just not finishing teams off. Perfect scenario to just like box it up, shithouse them a bit, deny easy chances, and then maybe nick one and bank on a fuck up. But no,
they were very generous with easy chances.
Yeah,
it was part of our malaise that we only got 2.
Really a wasted. Now that I lay it out like that, it's a real wasted opportunity. Like that would have been on paper. That's such a good opportunity for a minnow to knock a team off when they're in that kind of state.
Right.
Like the fact that we even played a first team lineup indicates that we sort of needed that fixture as well.
Right.
Really, really misunderstood the situation. Their Cheltenham Red manager.
The way they didn't understand the assignment.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say though, you know, like I feel like letting them score a goal in some cosmic way led to CCJ's red card as well. You know, I feel like if we didn't concede that, you know, they might not have gotten their weird hardo for the second half.
They start well. The goal, their goal was in the second half, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was. They came out of the half like flying a bit, and I think they were sort of determined. Like I think that was. Certainly, by the time it happened, that was like the only result they were going to get out of it.
I think it's just just kind of an organic dynamic that happens in games where, especially cup games between teams from different divisions, where refs, whether consciously or not, will just kind of like play the underdog or allow the underdog to get away with more shit, and they were taking advantage of that.
That's true. Ernie Constantine had the chance to become a legend, and he fucked it up.
Big Ern, come on, man.
We were misled because we were like, oh, finally a proper CONCACAF ref name.
Yeah.
The only other highlights I feel like for this are the, being very fitting that all of the sideboard ads were for insurance or healthcare,
or
and sometimes
small restaurants.
Yeah, and obviously the flag that just said pizza on it, and it was not. It wasn't even like an Italian flag. It was vertical stripes instead of.
Yeah, so it was like
horizontal.
It was
stripes.
like Hungarian flag.
Yeah. It's just an all caps pizza. Really a great. Maybe we should bring that to 202 and just hang from the rafters. But. And then we had Zach Ryan. I guess it's not technically his debut, right? He had like come on for a minute or something.
Yeah, he's come on and like as a sub in some league.
It was a fun move though to like come on and like seem like he was gonna fucking die. Like maybe he got about to get subbed on for Barlow, and then he was fine. And then he like almost got a shot on goal, right? It was just over. Anyway, Hartford, they were pretty poor. Pretty easy.
Pretty doo-doo.
I will not recommend that anybody buy Hartford Athletics season tickets.
Yeah.
Should anybody ask me for an evaluation of the situation?
No. See me after class. Needs work. I guess we're playing DC next in the cup, which is fine. Is it here or there?
It's in the district.
Might as well. I don't know. Whatever. They just fired their manager because apparently nobody liked him.
That sucks.
Making them cut out chips from their diet, and among other things. So,
So they're not trying for the rest of the year, they're playing Sunday League for the rest of the year, which will probably be like bite us in the ass, but fucking whatever.
That's true.
As Barry Fry once said, "Fucking cup games, fucking waste of time." So.
But yeah, I can sign on to that cup draw. Whatever. Let's have it go in a couple weeks.
It's a little nice to have another competition going, though.
That's true.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm cracking jokes, but I did miss the Open Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they didn't do some fucked up bastardized version of it the last 2 years.
Yeah,
it was a better move.
Yeah.
To just, that's what all of the leagues should have done, really. At least for 2020.
We'll remember in the history books those 2 years where we didn't have the U.S. Open Cup.
I mean, that's what the wars are like.
Yeah, exactly.
When you look at the fucking, it's like, oh, we had the weird wartime FA Cup instead because, Anyway.
When they had like one-armed guys playing in MLB. And stuff,
right.
Like.
When they had like 4 different teams come together in the NFL and become one team and stuff.
I think Arsenal and Tottenham did that, or I guess they played at one of their stadiums got used for like a bomb warehouse or something. But I'm glad that it's back, and I think as well that Lord knows there's extra money just hanging around the Fed, earmarked for something. But you could just give it to the small. I think they could get rid of the regionalization and just, if any lower league team is drawn to a first division team, the Fed just should make up the difference for their travel, so they can do it. Is I think how it should be done. But
on that note, though, if the Pentagon is for some reason listening to our podcast, the luxury suites at Yankee Stadium obviously hold missiles a lot better than the ones at RBA.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
The missiles that you're designing probably in a secret basement underneath Audi Field.
Right, just in the event of war. And so, we don't get scheduled off our thing. And
Citi Field actually legitimately is like one of the go-to logistics staging sites for emergencies. Like during hurricanes and shit, the plan is to set up logistics there. In the parking lot there.
I was going to say, there's just a really wide open parking lot.
Basically, yeah. It is. That's the least good thing about Citi, really. But yeah, Hartford, you sucked. No swag.
Yeah, no, did not go up in our
No.
in our slam book.
And then I guess
I was gonna say honestly, neither did Orlando. So
yeah, Orlando was more chill though. Orlando was like they were just. It's like they showed up to work hungover, and you got that they're just trying to get through their shift. You know, and you didn't want to bother them.
Right.
Hartford were trying to give us shit and everything. I was like, dude, shut up. Orlando was just like, hey, I'm just gonna like hang out in the corner over here and just kind of like clock
keep the
out.
lights low.
Yeah, clock out when I clock out. Just like don't blow up my spot. Blew up the spot a little bit. But,
4 minutes of extra time.
Yeah, Perea doesn't even pull out his best shit housing stuff for us at all. I mean,
this used to be
Perea gets so like, shrunken when we play. He plays.
I was gonna say this used to be a matchup. If you remember the old days of RBNY Orlando, it used to be like Sasha Kleshin and digging in. It was Dax McCarty getting in people's faces. What is this new Orlando, huh?
Like, I mean, just to continue on Perea, I mean, he's always like so extroverted and stuff, but I feel like whenever we beat Orlando, since he's been manager, he's always like, forlorn on the sideline. Like he grows the big, like, Mourinho not giving a shit beard over the course of 90 minutes. Like,
yeah. But I guess another way to frame this week in Red Bull's world is sort of the coming out party for Lucanius. I mean, is he the one who scored? No, it was Morgan who scored in Hartford. Morgan and Long, but Lucanius was involved.
Orlando's.
He played most of the game in Hartford, right? He played like 60, 70 minutes.
Yeah.
Then plays here on Sunday. Gets his debut goal, right? His first goal for the club.
Sick goal.
It was nice. And dare I say, I think it's kind of the exact kind of goal we needed. I feel like it was a good example of just the kind of take that we haven't been taking, where, well, one, I think we fashioned a little bit of a cleaner, better chance in combining, but two, just the way that he poked it through, it was like, yeah, not everything needs to be a
carved
big
out,
wind up, like out from central casting, like platonic form of
sometimes
goal.
You just take what the defense gives you, and sometimes that is just kind of doing a weird shovel shot like that.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of what that kind of goal shows is that catching a team off timing alone can result in a result, even if it's not a perfect placement, and so many of the shots that we seem to take are like these curlers to the far post that are just like either too wide or go over, and I'm just like, oh, you could just like take one straight on.
If I can like do devil's advocate from my own column about Patrick Klimala last week, that if because I think if you watch him play, if you watch the eye test, you see that he has like, as opposed to the stereotype or whatever that's in the fan base, he has very clean technique. And I think that works to his disadvantage in that someone like him, a striker like him, is always kind of positioning himself to have a clean strike on goal as opposed to just fighting for whatever chance you can make.
Right.
And I think the Lucanius goal is an example of the other end of that spectrum.
No, I totally agree. And like part of the reason it sometimes gets frustrating to watch Klimala play is because, he does take good contact and he like gets a good shot off, but that gives like the split second for a defender to get in front. So it looks much worse than like the opportunity either he had or like the way that he set himself up. And it's like I was saying this before too,
he's not a poacher like like Lineker or Inzaghi, who's just like barely getting his foot on some random
he wants
chance.
to take a rip. And I've said this before, but Robert Lewandowski has ruined Polish strikers for everyone because that's what everyone's trying to be, I guess. But
we need to get burned. Put together a clip of all of the BWP drag back goals where he nutmegs the defender and just like confuses or puts the goalkeeper just slightly
unbalanced,
off, and lock everyone in a room and Clockwork Orange them it for like 6 hours, where they just watch those kinds of BWP goals over and over again. Because I feel like the team needs that. Because also a lot of our midfielders, most of our midfielders have a tidy little shot on them now. Morgan, Drew, CCJ, Frankie, Omir, they all are capable of getting a good shot off, but I feel like they're getting into similar situations as Lucanius was on that shot, maybe a little bit more crowded, and you see the white of their eyes get a little bit big, they get excited, take a shot, and the reaction though is like, oh great, I have space, let me square something up and like take a shot and maybe get something in, and you usually get a block in, something usually doesn't work. Whereas Luquinhas, is more like, let me just, that space is there. Let's take advantage of it, which, reminds me not to bring up old exes, but Kaku also very similar approach to the game and way of manipulating and understanding space. And I think that was Morgan's strength the first 2 weeks of the season. And as I think he's maybe gotten stuck more into the rut in thinking he needs to fashion clean chances and score a bunch of goals every week. So maybe this week is also good for him. One, he gets a penalty goal, and also he gets another goal in Hartford that was, nice, but kind of ugly. Like, probably don't score it against a first division team. Maybe it also gets him more in the flow of kind of like just throwing people off their time and expectations rather than trying to be super clean.
He said after the Orlando game that he wants to score more goals. Like, he's not satisfied with his strike rate or whatnot. Even playing like wing back and stuff like that.
Yeah, but like this is also, I mean, like I think this goes with how Patrick plays. I think this goes with how all of our kind of like forwards and like attacking midfielders have been playing, or like how Frankie and Omir have been playing in terms of finishing. Is that if you don't finish a lot of chances, or you don't get a lot of chances, in the case of like Patrick Lamala, when you do get them, you want to try to make sure it's taken perfectly, and you put that pressure upon yourself, right? And then like I say this from experience as a striker who doesn't get that many clean opportunities.
Calling yourself a striker.
Exactly. And it's just like, whenever you get there and then you overthink it and you try to do too much, and in that moment where you're thinking it's like, oh, I finally have it, you lose it, right? And I feel like that's so much about like confidence and instinct, is that once we do get flowing and playing together, like, and we stop worrying about not being able to make our chances, is when we're going to make the most amount of chances. So it's like, it's like we just got to get there, but it's hard because like we've seen last season, we can fall into a rut and keep spiraling and keep going. And like, eventually we get to the point where it's like, oh, we don't really have that many points back to gain. But now we're at a really good point where it's like, hey, we are winning. We can take advantages of the weaknesses that we have, because they're happening to us in a place where, like we can make it up. And if like we continue this kind of road form, and, like if maybe like the kind of stuff that like Brian Dunseth was saying on the broadcast about like, hey, maybe if people play at home a little bit more comfortable against us, and that sets us up better, which I don't think really it is. I think it's more of a mentality thing, like maybe you're thinking, Brit.
I think it's a little bit of both.
I think there's truth to everything, but like,
I just want to like come out and say, because like there's some stuff going on online. There's no, I mean, yes, Dunseth was better than your normal fare analyzing a game, but there was nothing that he said that's not been like identified in Red Bull's world
by someone else
for weeks / months.
Okay.
I'm not even saying necessarily by me, although a lot by me. But
Dunseth was really funny though. My favorite one was like randomly halfway through the match, he was like, football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, both works. Like it was like 2009 or something. Where it's like, what? Who gives a fuck about that anymore? Like, who are you talking to?
Yeah, but like to that point, Cork, I'm like glad someone's kind of aping other opinions out there instead of like just going with a pre-established.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, just I was reading online the other day. Somebody said commented, soccer not a real sport. And sir, let me correct you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually the world's sport. Like, dude, what the fuck? Who are you talking to?
Struber actually not the way it kind of like chisels your point a little bit, but Struber the last few weeks has been like checking himself. Oh yes, soccer. I mean, like it's the way you play soccer, and it's like you don't have to do it, dude. Like it's fine.
It's fine. We get it.
I appreciate it.
No, it's nice. I appreciate
it. Yeah.
He's if Struber started saying soccer and he started moving away from like mislocating teams, like he doesn't call the Revs Boston anymore.
That was great.
Yeah, I loved it too. Yeah, like he doesn't call Sporting Kansas. He doesn't.
The Golden State Quakes.
Yeah, exactly. San Francisco. Yeah, like.
I think one that I was surprised that he didn't do was, I think he always called Columbus and not Ohio, because I feel like Ohio is one of the, like, in a lot of Germans or Europeans' mental maps of the U.S., they'll have like, California, Texas, New York, and like maybe Ohio was like the vague middle section.
Like that New Yorker cartoon.
Yeah. Ohio's the one. So I was expecting that, but no, didn't deliver. But
well, I mean, like to speak to kind of people, I think because people are overanalyzing, I think a home and away form.
People.
Well, no, to speak to the discourse about like, I think people are overanalyzing home versus away form to the point where it's like, hey, we're like reading a lot into whatever. But I think it does affect kind of how people are viewing the team, because like the games that people are investing time in going to, we're not winning, but we are still a successful team. So I think there's kind of like a little dissonance in kind of the experiences people are living in real life versus the actual performance of this team so far.
That's fair, but also like I can't respect you as a
like a full fan,
as like a full fan slash
you're only
observer
looking at home games.
if you don't know what's going on.
Well, yeah, there's
road.
a sense of entitlement.
That's a pretty easy threshold.
Yeah. But like I feel like fans are also like a little entitled to be like, we should be winning at home.
Oh, of course,
yeah,
but
so.
I think my response to that, which obviously is something that's been kind of rendered a lot in the last couple weeks, is that okay, do you think the team sucks? Do you think the reason we're not winning at home is because we suck? Because if you do, come out and say that. Because otherwise, if you look even slightly below the surface, you see that the underlying kind of structure and numbers are there, and that it's not. It's a huge anomaly, the results right now, and we're not going to go 0-17 or whatever at home.
Excuse me, so. I've been saying for weeks that we suck on this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say it is weird. Like four away wins and 4 non-wins at home is like weird. It's like enough of a sample size where it is sort of the main thing to talk about the team.
Yeah,
right now.
I mean, sure. I think it illustrates, obviously extreme tactics, but a tactical structure and game plan being adhered to. I mean, which is more than you can say for 90% of clubs who are just sitting mid-table or even upper table, but not really knowing what their identity is.
The fact that we're in second right now is wild.
Yeah,
like
Shield is on.
We really could be in first by quite a bit here. And I do say, I mean, it's going to be impossible to pin down how much it is this versus the tactics. I think it's a combo of two, but maybe this is where the contrast with the Dallas game comes in. There's definitely some sort of mental thing going on here at home as well, where I think that part of our freer scoring and chance creation away is partially a young team being free a little bit from the feeling of expectation and maybe just playing, nothing to lose all out and kind of, I think, as maybe Long or someone else said, sort of feeding off the energy of wanting to shut up the away crowd a bit, which I think is different at home, of maybe feeling pressure or expectation to score a little bit, combined with teams packing it in a little bit more, which to Dallas's credit, they were pretty decent at.
Teams are really, teams have always packed it in, especially like in playoff games against us. It's a whole other degree this year. I really feel like, and that's the reason for that is because the pressing is on a whole other level this year. You saw it in the Orlando game. You saw it in the Dallas game. You saw it even in the games where we've given up goals at home against, like Montreal and even a quality team like Columbus, where teams just don't get a sniff. Even if they come into games with a plan to sort of pass around and try and play against us, after like 10, 20 minutes, they're like, let's kind of go back to the drawing board here. In multiple games now, including at home, opponents have not even gotten a shot or a chance in like the first 20, 30 minutes. I think there's a fear factor in coming up against us that I think is going to turn in our favor over time, hopefully pretty soon, but that, teams are, even more wary of taking chances against, the Red Bulls, even compared to the earlier parts of, the Marsh era, of the energy drink era. And, the response to that is both that they're not creating as many chances, but they're also, way more inclined to bunker than they would even in the past. So
I think that's fair and true. And there are two things that I just hate about it. One is that it just, unfortunately for now, has worked mostly out of luck, I feel like, for other teams, but
right.
That's unlucky for us, obviously, and has detrimental.
Yeah, even against the bunkering, we've been creating random chances.
Exactly. But it's like it's tough because if it works, that means that other teams are going to come in and bunker down more. To my second point, which I hate, which is just like, it's gonna suck to watch every game at home because everyone's just gonna try to sit back and then we're like absorb that pressure, and we're just gonna keep trying to bunker down or like break this deep line and like try to figure that out. And if that's gonna be the discourse forever, and I'm gonna get so annoyed by like everyone talking about this
Dallas is the most by far to not really try to go forward against us. I'd say Columbus actually did fashion like 3 or 4 legitimate dangerous chances, and they finished the one that they shouldn't have.
They were mostly counters.
They're all counters. But Columbus, I think, is the team that at most competently had a counter plan, because I guess they've had that in their notes. You know, even Greg probably left a folder behind that Porter read. And well, you know, Porter knows what he's doing a little bit too. But yeah, everyone else, I mean, like Montreal was like fucking nothing, right? You know, like just error, an unforced error, really. I will say though that I think, well, one, there was a slight shift in the last 2 games where we went more to the 4-2-3-1 type thing, and a different kind of way, I think, of approaching our advanced midfielders and not just relying on width so much, I think makes a difference. But I do think Dallas is also an example that I think we lacked, like with the way that it felt just like cosmically impossible to score in that, like I think is sort of a reflection of bit of like just sort of a young team not having confidence at a certain level where like, yeah, we played well enough to win. I think if we play another 20 to 30 minutes of that game, we probably do score. I also think that if that's not Luquinhas' first real game, that we probably look for him more often and get the ball on his feet more, and maybe his little bit of guile gets us in a little bit, because I think we needed the exact kind of chance that he took against Orlando in that game, and sort of demonstrating to the rest of the team that they can sort of just more creatively exploit space and the expectations of defenders rather than trying to ram it home. Because the way that, I mean, really, like, especially the 2 chances where you had twice in the span of a couple minutes a ball rebound either off the goalkeeper or the post and basically hit Klimala at a split-second reaction, and he puts it on frame, basically the only thing he can do, and then it just either hits the post or hits the goalkeeper, is like very typical, I think, of how the night went. You know, it was just sort of like we really just trying to ram it in the most typical way we could. So I think I'm hoping that a little bit of new energy from Luquinhas can mix that up, because I also get the sense that he's still a little bit, you can tell he's still in his own groove right now, like or is not necessarily just operating the same way as everyone else, which I think is good, because like then he can add a little bit more of his creativeness to the team rather than sort of maybe getting stuck in a pattern with everyone else that we need to break out of.
The formation shift is interesting too, because Struber explicitly said after the Orlando game yesterday that he has shifted over to, he's mostly kept 3/5 in the back and playing with wing backs, but he has switched away from 2 strikers because he wants, like, you know, he said that single striker setup encourages the midfielders forward more, and that's what he's been wanting to get out of the attack, to change the attack. And I think kind of along the lines of what you're just saying there, Brit, you're seeing that happen in the Hartford and Orlando games. And, you know, maybe it fosters some, you know, honest competition between Fletcher and Klimala week to week. And you know, either some competition between them in training, or just giving him, you know, different kind of tactical cards to play opponent by opponent.
I think it gave us also more flexible and dynamic look. I mean, I think it encourages everyone to play more vertically, whereas I think the second half of Dallas was also a pretty good snapshot of how in these home games, especially as they drag on into the second half, the team can have a tendency to just shovel it over to Morgan a little bit and just say, do something, please. And it kind of gets him stuck on the sideline or then the end line, and we kind of run out of ideas. He runs out of ideas, where I think this shift to the single forward has been more effective at bringing him sort of in on the pitch and combining with the other players rather than just having Tolkien kind of switch the ball over to him. it sort of ineffectively. And I think it's also not an accident that I think that was probably part of why we were finding Luquinhas a little bit more, in addition to just being more familiar with him after training for 2 more weeks, that I am looking forward to going forward. And hopefully he stays a little bit more dynamic.
I'm really interested in seeing kind of the eventual link up between kind of the chain of Frankie Amaya to Luquinhas through either Fletcher or Klimala, because I really think that those guys can be synergistic with each other, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Frankie continues to play really well.
He really seems to be that link in the midfield that kind of springs attacks a lot, you know? That connection.
We were getting that on Sunday against Orlando. There are a lot more opportunities to play for him to like kind of turn, burst through space, and then play a killer vertical ball. Omir also had one of those. I think Omir is also an interesting case where he's much better with the single striker setup rather than being sort of the second striker, in that he's actually gotten pretty good at learning how to use his frame and earn a foul or kind of do hold up play to the extent that he can. But his strength is not really running past like through the line and running into space. It's much more combining with guys and kind of having the ball at his feet and creating something in combination with everyone else. So I think it's much better to have him be doing what he was doing the last 2 games rather than against Dallas, and should continue.
I would like to see Klimala get more looks in kind of that role that Omir is playing, because I think, you know, and obviously this will, if any of the haters out there decide to cap this or whatever, it could be ridiculed, but I think there's in that role, kind of along the lines of what I was saying about how he creates his shots earlier, I think there's some Bergkamp potential in Klimala playing in sort of a deeper forward role with people running in front of him and ghosting in behind them. But we'll see what Gare thinks.
That could be good.
I see what you mean.
It could be good to have guys in front of him, because I notice he sometimes tries to take people on the dribble, but it does not seem to be his first option. He seems to scan and see if anyone else is making a run first, and then by the time he tries to dribble past someone, he's hesitated long enough that the defenders usually are onto it. And I've also noticed that he seems to he likes this one pass out to Morgan when he's holding up the ball a little bit, but I think it's a little. I don't actually even know if he's overbaking it a bit. Morgan seems to want it a little bit softer, more central to pitch, but he seems to be hitting it further out
to take him to the end line.
Yeah. So but I think it does show that he's got that kind of inclination in his game. So that's an interesting idea. Also, so Fletcher's loan isn't for much longer though, right? I mean, it's only for a couple,
like till the end of July, early mid-July.
So I guess we're not super pressed, but I mean, he's shown well so far.
I was to say, it's like I've seen enough to want to keep him.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that apparently Lewis Morgan is our penalty taker now, which I think makes sense as well. I mean, it kind of fits his skill set.
Yeah, and there was a lot of kind of chatter about, you know, because I mean, obviously Klimala has been kind of the incumbent penalty taker, and you would think on one hand it would be kind of a gimme moment to get him some confidence back, but then on the other side of it, first off, you kind of want him to get a goal from the run of play to break him out of, you know, whatever this funk he's in is. And then also, if he misses that penalty, even though it wouldn't have been consequential to the game, it would have just been more ammo for, you know, the heat to be turned up on him and all that wouldn't have been, you know, very helpful.
Didn't he miss his last one too?
But yeah, he missed one recently, but I mean, that happens sometimes.
Well, yeah, but like, I feel like if you're in his mindset, you're like, oh, let's protect him a little bit. Yeah.
There's, you know, not everybody's Letitia, and you miss sometimes, but there's that, and also there's another aspect of that.
Well, he finished that one chance that was offside.
Oh yeah,
which I thought was one case where I didn't mind the keeping the flag down just in case of VAR thing, because I was like, yeah, it basically gave him a real life chance to take it that was basically a freebie.
And then on the other end, there was that moment where Coronel stuffed Kara
Yeah,
on that freebie, which was kind of a kind of microcosm of the game, but yeah, then so there's a little bit of that sort of speculation about what the process was behind Morgan taking the penalty, and then somebody asked Struber about it post game, and he was very quick and blunt. He just said, we have a lot of penalty takers, and Lewis was one of them, and that's it. Like, he didn't feed any of it at all.
Well,
so.
the Klamala finish on the non offside chance was the hardest finish I think of the game to make, and that's another example of him having a lot of time planning out what the shot's going to be and able actually to make it in that instance, because he didn't have people on him. So I think what you're saying about him having someone maybe to make space in front of him and to have time to wind up his shot or to place where he wants to will benefit him. But again, on the other hand, his movement really does strike me as someone who's the striker who gets ahead sometimes. So I don't know, maybe it's why, or maybe he got used to trying to be playing in a two striker type of thing. But I don't know, maybe we'll see Fletcher and Klamala together at some point this season. That might be interesting. But lots of options for Gerhard going forward, I guess.
Yep, and we were also linked to a new left back, right? Some Brazilian guy.
Conrado Bucanelli Holtz.
Oh wow! What
Got a
little bit of everything there.
He's from the other side of the tracks from Lucas Monzon in southern Brazil.
Oh really? Yeah, that's the Gans.
Yeah, he's from the. I won't go into that, but Gilbert, you're gonna get in trouble.
Now Gilbert,
Conrado Holtz, who is a Brazilian playing left back in Poland, as appears to be one of the new MLS RBNY proving grounds.
There's going to be a very specific scout attached to these guys, right?
Maybe. I mean, I think it's just generally, the MLS drifting from sleeping giant market to sleeping giant market. First it was Scandinavia, then Venezuela and Cuba, and now they're just hitting the piñata in Poland.
We've been sending all of our checks to a Bartos Fry.
Yeah, Bartos Pereira. Yeah. We're going after another Brazilian in the Polish league. He's from Lechia Gdansk or Dansk. I don't know. Danzig. Yeah. We're signing him from Glen Danzig FC, and
nice.
He's kind of a left back. We obviously have only one left back in the first team who we trust with minutes. Pendant is seemingly banished to the reserves until they can do something with him. So we do need left back depth / competition. And it sounds like there's a decent amount of smoke for a summer transfer. So we'll see.
All right, full permanent move.
I would think.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think Polish teams are not willing to take a check. So
we do need a left back.
That's true. Although we're not afraid to do a loan with any sort of club. We've done loans with plenty of smaller clubs.
Oh, well,
than us.
I should say Conrado. He used to be Fabio teammate at Oeste.
Oh,
so
Conrado. I feel like it just gives me a vision of my name is Conrado. In Spanish, that means the Conrad. But all right, Conrado. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I'm ready to hear more. Computer, show me Conrado Bucanelli Holtz. Can I get a hat wobble? But I support it. Also eager to. I'm interested and excited about the fact that Fletcher seems to be a legit option and part of the team here. Really, and also another week where CCJ seems to be more cogently part of the plans. Cangelosi was talking about CCJ's position a bit at length, which caught me off guard, and he seemed to be he referenced Struber going on record saying that he thinks he's an 8. Did Struber say this in a recent press conference or and that this is a team that plays with sixes and tens.
Maybe I've missed a couple of press conferences the last few weeks, so maybe he said it one of those. But I can't remember Struber saying he was an 8. I know Struber. I've heard Struber say that he likes his aggression against the ball and tackling and stuff like that more than I've heard him talk about his kind of technical attacking side. But I if he has said he's an 8, I agree. I think the ship has sailed on him being kind of disciplined into a holding 6 role.
Yeah.
And he's not really playing that when he's paired with Amaya or Yearwood recently. So
yeah, I think that's one case where, I mean, like, compared to the last episode we did, not Twitch thing, like I was complaining that it felt like we were just the spine of our team was a little too ephemeral. That it was getting subbed out. We we're changing shape, in the middle of games, and just kind of burning these minutes idly too often. I was saying the 3 games we've seen since, it feels a little bit less like that. It feels like we've had more like for like subs. It feels like we have a stronger sense of really what we're going to do for the whole 90 minutes and who our options are going to be. And
but I think that's also revealed to me in a way that we might not also be as deep because we're not using all of our subs, but I also don't want us to use all of our subs looking at our bench a lot of the time. So that's kind of what that's revealed to me. Well, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if that I agree, because it's like the beginning of the season, like week 1, we were playing Edelman and who's the other guy? Serge Ngoma. Like week 1, Struber's had zero hesitation about playing the young guys or giving Ryan minutes here, there, playing Barlow a bunch. He seems to have not been deterred by perceived first team depth much when making a lot of these subs anyway. But
that's fair. Maybe I'm just underrating our youth is what I feel.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I think it's really more that he's
I think what you're saying, Brit, is that it's not even necessarily the quality is dropping as much as just the cohesiveness of the team and the structure.
Yeah.
When he takes these guys out.
Right. Or it's refreshing to see CCJ go out there and do something that was a little bit less of a surprise to the other 10 players on the field. And we had Frankie, also because of suspensions and suspensions, I guess, and just rotation, we had Frankie, Drew, and CCJ all played this week, and they all kind of filled in no problem for each other. And I think we also had Lucanius come in and Omir do different shifts, also really less of a problem, sort of like for like stuff, which just feels a little bit more confidence inspiring for me, rather than just throwing things at the wall and hoping something works. But our next game is against Chicago. In Chicago.
At Soldier Field?
Yeah, I guess that's where they're playing their games now, right? Mm-hmm. Full time, which is weird.
It sucks that the time they picked to switch to Soldier Field, but them's the breaks.
I feel like Chicago's had 8 different aborted relaunches, even before the new crest and things. I feel like the last owner also was all right, we're gonna go big, we're getting,
when they got Schweinsteiger and Gaetan,
or even before that, also when they had their
when they signed Veljko Paunovic as their coach, even.
Who was their striker? They had Igbon Anike, who apparently only ever scored against us, so everyone else thought he sucked, and I thought he was decent.
Nikolic.
But then who was the Ghanaian guy?
Niarko? David Akam.
Akam, yeah. Akam was a bit of a minor, A- player.
He's a guy who he was on Philly for a couple of years, I know, but then he I think he left MLS and he's randomly somewhere kind of big now in Europe. Funny. I can't remember.
He got a bit of the Ola Kamara also had a kind of similar thing going where he landed in one decent club situation where he was able to bag a bunch of goals and then got traded around for a bunch of MLS money to a bunch of different teams, and that they all sort of realized, oh, we didn't build our team. He's not like an automatic goal machine. It's just like Bruce knew how to feed Ola Kamara in one specific situation, but still comes good a decent amount of the time.
But
Anyway,
now they've got the Power Cube as their latest big.
Shaqiri?
Yeah, they're swinging for the fences.
Wow.
I forgot about that.
I forgot about Shaqiri.
That's such a Chicago signing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's totally in line with the recent swings that they've made, but they were getting a little bit of hype the first few weeks of the season, and they've mostly been kind of strong defensively, but I guess that streak sort of ended last weekend, and now they're maybe threatening to be just kind of mid-table also rans again.
Sorry, I was urgently Wikipediaing Kosovo yet again to get just to align my
exactly same thing.
Oh, I wasn't actually doing it, but I mean, I'm always doing that at the back of my head.
It's also true, yes.
The
left-wing mayor of Chicago.
Yeah. Oh shit! Yeah, this is the showdown of the ages, the Lightfoot Adams Cup.
Oh, they're gonna make such an incoherent joke bet with each other.
I hope we should schedule a in-person press conference, and just to see what costumes they show up in. Like Lori Lightfoot's gonna show up as fireman or something, but it's not a fireman. It's gonna be like a separate new concept that's just a man, like fire space man, and then someone's gonna be like Mayor Lightfoot, like fireman. That's like a thing. Like what? No.
I just saw the logo for hot tamales.
Fireman. Yeah.
Oh wow! So Chicago last week lost 3-0 to Minnesota. Minnesota scored all 3 of their goals in the last 20.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I know.
I heard about that.
They're reeling a bit. I mean, it's superficially similar to kind of New England a bit. I mean, I think blowing a lead to Pumas in Mexico City is a little bit. I mean, I don't know. It's different than losing on penalties to Union Omaha. Is it more embarrassing? I don't know. It's different kind of embarrassing. But now they have subsequently gotten blown out by, I guess, semi-local rival Minnesota. So they're probably in a bad way right now. We could maybe help derail their season, because also it looks so far we have maybe successfully kind of helped put New England in a funk. I think they've continued to lose, which is great for us. But yeah, if we could spoil more of their party, that would be great.
They've still got a lot of the jokers who we pressed pretty hard and beat kind of bad, at least at home. Last year they got like Gaston Jimenez and Wyatt Homsberg. Although they have Shabilko now. But
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
I'm also noticing that Minnesota has a player named Arriaga, which I thought that wasn't even. I thought that wasn't even like a real name. I thought that was just like the Simpsons writers riffing on something that sounds like a Portuguese name, but actually isn't. But do they have Arriaga too, though? Is the real question.
They have a Weah who is not related to George or Tim, so there's that going for Minnesota. But
oh shit! You know who played for Minnesota? Taxi actually played. Wow, look at that.
Wow.
Damn. Well, you know, another episode if you get to listen to 202 read Flop Mop together. But yeah, I mean they're tight, but we'll fucking do them, right?
yeah, that's gotta be your move on Chicago.
It's an away game. We're gonna win it, right?
Yeah, let's just go ahead.
Let's do them.
Let's just do it. Yeah.
They also seem, the fact that they're caught up in their feelings a bit right now and a little distracted also to me indicates that they might look past. They might not give us a full scout. They might be, trying to have a team talk amongst themselves all week. So maybe they'll
come out wanting to like kick ass and stuff and probably
like,
take some chances.
Let's go beat this team, and not realizing that if they actually played more defensively, they might stand a better chance. I fancy our chances. I mean, so do you think we're likely to see this? I guess it's still 3 at the back. Maybe I'm getting this wrong, but 3 at the back, but this different midfield shape, I guess, if not the backline shape, with Luquinhas, Omir, and Morgan being like the 3 attacking midfielders. And then we're going to have a full week's rest this time. So you would figure that there's just as much a rationale or reason to play Fletcher and Klimala. There's not really the midweek rotation question. I don't know. Do you have a feeling? Who might start? Who you would like to start?
I would like to see. I don't think it's going to happen because I think Struber rates Omir a lot, but I would like to see, like I said, Klimala maybe playing in that Omir role. But other than that, I wouldn't really change much. Yeah.
I wonder if Klimala is going to go hang out in is there a Polish neighborhood in Chicago, or is it just a little bit of everywhere?
I think it's just everywhere.
That's like saying, is there an Italian neighborhood in New York?
In the tri-state area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there an Irish neighborhood in Boston?
I think I would, I would love to see CCJ play the lone striker. I would,
yeah.
I don't really know. I think we should just keep stuff going, right? Like, I don't see any reason to change what we have right now. We've had a full week, let's kind of build momentum on what we have, maybe bring that into a home stand, and then, let's get some tempo going for the rest of our season, because we've already been building it, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think also it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to approach this as a challenge to really just get a clean sheet. I think if as long as we get a clean sheet here, that will maybe matter to me more rather than when we score. Because like away at Chicago, kind of a scrappy team, it would not be unprecedented to not score against them, even with our home away pattern holding. But if we can eliminate our mistakes, if we can play clean at the back and just put in a professional performance that way, that I think would be really comforting to see. So many of our goals this year have been just random set piece lapses and just bullshit like that. Mm-hmm. I would love to see 90 minutes, and also Shaqiri, he's the exact kind of player who would pop up and on like a dumb set piece counter something and hammer one
hit a volley
shot
from midfield,
and punish us.
Score a Katai goal.
Yes, exactly. Exact kind of bullshit that would happen. So let's just cut that out from the get-go. And I feel good about everything rolling out the same shape as Sunday.
Yeah, not to be problematic, I was just trying. We don't have any Serbian or like Orthodox players in the side, do we? Not to get back on the
or
Kosovo
Croatians.
jokes. Yeah.
I don't know what is Albania Greek relationships like right now. We have the Greek Academy guy, right?
And we have the Greek esports player.
Oh my god! All right, that's another whole Wikipedia article. You have your 202 homework for the week, everyone. I guess if you have insomnia and you're having trouble sleeping or something, you could go. Like, I think our Twitch broadcast is on our Twitch account. If you really need to like torture somebody or something. But making no promises for specific dates, but we might do that continually throughout for random away games, and we'll try to announce it.
Especially cup games.
Yeah, and we'll try to announce it
earlier than.
Yeah, we'll announce in advance, and I think we hit a better method this time of sort of like we had the audio in our ears, so we could supplement the stream rather than maybe trying to replace it. So I think that worked better this time. So keep an eye out, everyone. We might do that in the future for away games, never for home games, though. And then, View from 202 on all the internet things. If you ever want to send us a question, we'll remember to check our email and answer it a month later. The 202 way. Until next time.